Yeah, again, last year is last year, and everybody's will have their opinion, and obviously I wasn't involved last year, but I've come in. I'll be putting my stamp on the club alongside Gary and Mark, and we've had 2 training sessions this week. As a group, players have already been doing their own individual training sessions before we came back on Tuesday night, but I'm sure if you speak to Gary and Mark after this event, they'll tell you that training's probably a little bit different to what it was last year. Every coach is different. I'll be putting my stamp on the on the way that I want to play, on the way that I want to train, and the structures and the game plans that I'll have in place. And if we enter a sequence of results that don't go our way in the in the final minutes of a game next year, then as a coach, it'll be up to me to analyse why that's happening, and try and put some things right so that we can stop that happening further down the line. So as far as last year goes, it's hard for me to comment on that. But it's certainly something that if we're in a game, and it's in the balance with 5 minutes to go, then I'd like to think that over the course of time, then we'll start winning more of those games than losing them.
I actually think we're going backwards. And that might have a lot to do with the imports that we're actually getting into the country. From a Super League point of view, I think they should actually close the book and maybe bring some young English talent that is probably playing in the Championship into the Super League sides and give them that little bit more experience. We did look good against the New Zealand's, but unfortunately didn't back it up.
Yeah, my perspective on it is I think. Not that I want to be heavily critical, of Steve McNamara and his staff, but if we look back to the middle of the season when they played the Exiles games, his comments after that game when which they lost in the last few minutes were that he was preparing for the World Cup in 2013, and I thought that was strange for head coach of a national side to be saying he's preparing for a World Cup which is over 2 years away. Then obviously when they got into the Four Nations this year and they had relative success by beating us Wales convincingly, and then putting up a real good fight against Australia in that first game, and then beating New Zealand convincingly to get to the Four Nations final. Maybe the staff of England decided to build it all up and focus on the Four Nations final, and instead of maybe still being a little bit smarter and still talking about the 2013 World Cup. And all of a sudden Steve McNamara and his staff and all the players that were interviewed have started talking about the belief, and they had the belief to go on and win the Four Nations final. And then ultimately, one game, and anybody can miss the jump in one game and have a poor performance in one game, and I thought collectively England were a long way below the standards that they'd set themselves in the 2 previous games against New Zealand and Australia, and ultimately Australia very, very rarely have an off day, especially in a final, and they're used to that, the mentality of, getting themselves ready for a final. And, ultimately England paid the price. And then after the game, Steve McNamara and his staff and the players started talking about the 2013 World Cup again, and maybe, they need to set their focus and stick to it. And maybe then, the belief that they had, will continue, and they can have that one focus. And then if they get to that stage of the 2013 World Cup and they're not where they want to be, then they'll have to evaluate, the staff and and the way that they select the personnel, etc., etc. One thing that I'd possibly be keen on, and I'm not one for looking at Australia, but the Australian management and coaching staff don't select the squad. They have a team of selectors that select the squad, and more often than not, the squad's selected on form. And I think far too often, over here the England squad isn't necessarily selected on form. And again, it's just my opinion. I wouldn't have selected Jamie Peacock and Adrian Morley in the same side. I wouldn't have selected Kevin Sinfield at stand-off. But that's just my opinion. But maybe if we had somebody else advising the coaching staff on the selection process, then it may be a more valid valid selection process, and we'd maybe get, as Mark and Dear, to some more youngsters in there They're going to come through and challenge the likes of the Adrian Mollers and Jamie Peacocks and Kevin Sinfields of this world, who, don't get me wrong, have had outstanding Super League careers, but I'm not so sure that I'd have gone with those three in the England squad when I can see how far some of the youngsters have shown in Super League this year.
Cheers, mate.
Inspiring England coach.
Well, it's very similar to what Barry said. Australia is very well drilled. Every positional player knows what he's got to do in that team, and England, we mix and match, and people just start doing different things. I think we had 6 kickers kicking the ball. They had 2, Thurston, Lockyer, and everybody knew, and their kick chase was superb. It were down there because they knew that they were doing it. We had a back rower, a 9, a 6, everybody kicking the ball. So no one basically knew who was kicking the ball, so the kick chase was non-existent. And it's them little things in that sort of game, that intensity, are big because they control the area of the ground that they are making. And we just didn't get out of our zone 20. I was on 20, 30, that was it. And they controlled us. That's all due to they knew who were going to do what, and at the time, to drill and drill and drill, and that's why they're a lot better than us. We, like Barry says there, we mix and match. We put Sinfield to 6, and then you put him to 9. He's not played 9 all year. Surely we've got a better 9 in the country who should be playing. If he's struggling, get another 9 there. Get another 6 there, get another full back there. Don't put a back rower at 6 or a back rower at 9. Suddenly he just breaks down because people don't know what's going on. And that happened 20 years ago. And it's happening again. And until we position, put people in the right position, then that's what'll happen. We'll lose every time. For me. That's it.
The question was how highly do I rate Lee Briers? Well, I've had the good fortune of playing alongside Lee for Wales on 2 or 3 occasions, and I've always said that he's the most talented player that I've ever played with. His vision is absolutely unbelievable. His kicking game's phenomenal. If there's a kick opportunity on tackle one, and then Lee's got the confidence to do that, and he unlocked Australia a couple of times in our game. Andrew Johns also went over to Warrington and played those handful of fixtures a couple of years ago, and Andrew Johns is probably one of the world's greatest ever halfbacks in the game. And when Andrew Johns goes over to Warrington and makes a statement that Lee Briers is the most talented player he's ever played alongside, then you take it on board. So yeah, Lee Briers is an exceptional talent, and England's loss was certainly Wales' gain. The rules state that if you've got residency, then you can represent your country. Australia have done that with Tony Williams and Uarte and Yaoye, and so all the nations are doing it. It's not just England that have taken advantage of the residency rule. Rangi Chase coming into the squad. Again, it's all a matter of opinions. Would he have played if Johnny Lomax had been fit? I'm not sure. I think Johnny Lomax at St Helens is an absolutely exceptional talent, and if he'd have been fit, then maybe he'd have played in front of Rangi Chase. But he also brought Chris Heitington and Jack Reed into the squad as well, who were playing in the NRL. The residency rule states that if they fit the bill and they're eligible, then you're allowed to put them into the squad. I think Steve McNamara's made his bed. He's got to lie in it now, and if he's going to go down that road, there's no good discarding the likes of Heitington and Rangi Chase and Jack Reed now. And the one thing that I would say is if they're willing to come over at the end of the season for a Four Nations tournament, they also should be willing to play in any mid-season games as well.
Gary, do you want to have an opinion on that? Phone's going off. Mark? Yeah. Just read it about it.
I probably agree with what Barry says. If they are eligible, then they can play. But my own thoughts would be that they should be really playing young British talent that we've got in the Super League. you know, and giving them a chance to bed their, you know, international careers that could be for, you know, 5-10 years going down the line. But if he's probably the best option that we've got at the moment with injuries, then, you know, so be it.
Do you want an opinion, Gary?
Go on then, mate, I'll talk. I mean, it's a situation where, as a coach, you're a little bit restricted because you look at the best players that you can play to be that team you're playing. So, as he looks at it, does he bed a player and bring him in, you know, and give him the chance and get the experiences against them teams, or does he play safe and bring in the likes of them players? How do you get experience? The only way you get experience is by playing. For me, you bring the kids in. I'm big on kids, I'm afraid, and I think give them a go.
The back. Is Tompkins playing for the Barbarians? Good news or bad news?
Well, I think it's bad news in my opinion. I think I spoke earlier about, you know, rugby league starting to grow as a sport. It's starting to grow nationally. It's starting to grow worldwide. You know, there's more people playing the game of rugby league than ever before. For one of our players to go and play in a one-off rugby union game, you know, for the Barbarians this weekend, when he's probably the most highly sought after, highly spoken about talent, you know, alongside the likes of Jonathan Thurston and Darren Lockyer and Billy Slater in the world of rugby league at this moment in time, is Sam Tompkins. I think for rugby league to allow him to go and play for the Barbarians, I think shows a sign of weakness from the rugby league, and I'd have been much preferred for the rugby league to have said no, he is a rugby league player and he will play rugby league, and if he wants to go and play rugby union, then he should make that choice, as his brother has just done, and you know, he's gone to play rugby union. So I would have much preferred the rugby league to have made a stance and said he's a rugby league player, and you know, he's rather than getting the media coverage out of the fact that he's going to be playing in a one-off game out of position on the wing.
Right, you got an opinion?
I think it's exactly the same as Barry's. I actually think it's disrespectful to rugby league fans myself as well. You're part of the rugby league family, you should stick to rugby league. If you want to go play rugby union, take the money and go to rugby union. That's
Gary was once asked to play for Leeds Corinthians, so...
I know, I played with Rotherham actually. I had a guest experience with Rotherham, yeah. Yeah, so that's another club I forgot to mention, that's another one. I did 4 I took ball 4 times and took 4 drives. 4 tackles, I thought that's a great game of touch and pass. I mean, at the end of the day, he's made a decision. You know, we all make decisions in life. If it's the right one or the wrong one, that's what you've got to live with. It's down to him. I look at it that way. It's not me to run his life, what he should do and what he shouldn't do. It's his choice. Me personally, he's signed on, and where he's signed on, that's where he should be. But if he's made a decision to do it, then that's down to him. So that's where I stand.
Rugby league should have stopped.
It's very much his own man.
Yeah.
You can see that, can't you?
Yeah.
Which is...
I mean, most of these.
On the
Yeah, is it rugby long?
I'm not one for looking on internet websites, etc. The only time I normally go on internet websites if I'm looking at opposition squads, etc., etc. But so I'm not one for looking at the at the forums as such. But I do believe that it's, you know, I've been led to believe that it's always very constructive from you boys. So keep it up.
One of the most popular.
I hope that's the right answer.
Flaming white. Trying to find who it is. Still trying to find who it is. There's Myrtle White and Flame in the room.